How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is PSReady, my channel all about PlayStation. In today's video, I've got three great topics for you guys. One of them is an issue my PS5 is having, but after I researched it, it seems like a lot of launch PS5s are having this issue, so I'm going to tell you how to fix it. We're going to talk about this $130 new game and how gaming prices in general are getting absolutely ridiculous. And then finally, I'm going to go over some of the physical game pickups I did this week. That one's a new segment I'm just going to try out and see what you guys think. Real quick, I just checked and like 85% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed, so it would really help me out if you checked if you were subscribed, and if you're not, you did subscribe. I am so close to 200,000 subscribers and I would absolutely love to get there. First up, I want to talk about this issue that I've been facing with the PS5. So I usually lately have been playing on my PS5 Slim here in the basement. I just like the atmosphere down here. I kind of set it up as my little man cave, but my brother has been staying at my house for the past week and I wanted to play some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I've been using the PS5 upstairs, which is a launch edition disc model PlayStation 5. I've been trying to buy more physical games lately because I just have this strong feeling that they're going to go away. I'll talk about this more again later in the video, but I was at Target yesterday and man, the game section was absolutely abysmal. They had like 3 or 4 games out and it was just pitiful. But my copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is digital, and the issue I've been facing is that my PS5's Wi-Fi chip has been acting really weird. When I moved into this house last year, the first thing I did was set up the internet. I got AT&T's fiber, so it's like a gig up and down, and then I got 2 of their smart home extenders that actually do a really good job of making sure I get at least 600 to 800 up and down anywhere inside my house. I virtually had no issues with it, but when I first set it up, my PS5 was disconnecting from the network quite a few times. So I looked online and I figured out that if you go into your internet settings and go into the advanced settings of that actual connection, you can prioritize 5 gigahertz instead of 2.4 gigahertz or automatic. So I did that, and ever since then, like for the past year or so, I've never really had much of an issue. But lately I've been having an issue where my PS5, my launch model upstairs, keeps disconnecting from the internet, and it's becoming a real issue with digital games because with Final Fantasy Rebirth, I'll be playing it and then it'll say, hey, you're disconnected from the PlayStation Network. We can't verify the license of this game. It's going to shut down in 5 minutes, so save your progress. And this has happened at the worst times for me, like at least 3 or 4 times in the past week where I'll be in a long cutscene. I'll be in one of those sequences where if you hit the start button, it only gives you a pause instead of actually allowing you to save. And I've actually lost progress in the game up to like 20 or 30 minutes, which is frustrating, right? Like it's nothing against the game, but it's an extremely long game. So being set back at all is a really frustrating experience to have. I've tried a bunch of things to fix this issue as well. Like I restarted my PS5 from like cold, like I did the full restart, not just putting it in rest mode and turning it back on. I've completely powered it down, unplugged it to cycle the power, plugged it back in. I tried resetting my internet by both using the AT&T app to power it down and restart it, and I've even come down here, unplugged the router, plugged it back in, make sure I unplug the smart home extenders, plug them back in, get the network back up and running, and that's where I've had the best luck, kind of, I would say. Like that works again for like an hour or two, but it still always comes back. And the weird thing is my PS5 Slim does not have this issue at all, and every other device on my network doesn't have this issue. So I'm really coming down to the fact that this is a problem with the PlayStation 5. I went to my favorite place for tech support, the PlayStation 5 subreddit, and I was honestly shocked how many people are having this issue. And it's not just with these AT&T home setups. People on Xfinity, people on Spectrum, people on Verizon, people on even Starlink are having this issue. And thankfully I was able to find a solution that mostly works, but after a while of putting my PS5 in and out of rest mode, the issue really just comes right back and it's getting really frustrating. But the fix is to just completely wipe out that internet connection, so your home Wi-Fi network, and then restart it from scratch, go into the advanced settings, set it to prefer 5 gigahertz, and also to set your DNS settings to manual and do 8.8.8.8, and then in the backup one, do 8.8.4.4. And that will fix it for a week or so, but then the issue comes right back and it's getting extremely frustrating. So I think my next step is to utilize my PlayStation Stars status and connect to Sony support and try to get this issue fixed. I'm really hoping they'll do it for free, but I'm honestly kind of worried because my PS5 is obviously 4 years old, and that means it's completely out of warranty. And this issue kind of happened with my PS4 Pro, and when I tried to get it fixed, they were like, yeah, it'll be $150, which is like, at that point in the generation, I wasn't going to pay it. And unfortunately, I'm in kind of a similar situation because I have 2 PS5s, so I could just move my PS5 Slim upstairs instead of dropping over $100, or I could just wait for the PS5 Pro, which I always intended to replace the upstairs TV with when it comes out later this year. The network issue is annoying for sure, but the real annoyance here comes down to the license checking on the PS5. I genuinely don't understand why it's that aggressive, where every time you're playing the game, it periodically checks to see if you have the license. To me, that's absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason why it should be checking if I have the license, if that's set to my primary PS5 and I'm able to get on the PlayStation Network, because at that point, there's no way I could have hacked the game, right? Like, you shouldn't be able to just lose entitlement to a $70 single player game, right? Like, it doesn't have any online features. It's not Destiny 2. It has no anti-cheat or anything like that. It has virtually no multiplayer and no reason to connect to the internet in the first place. I think at the most, the PS5 should just check this once a month, go through all of your entitlements and just make sure everything's up to par. I think at most the PS5 should be checking your entitlements like once a month, if that. There's virtually no reason I can see to be that aggressive about it. And it's at the point where it's degrading my experience with the console, which honestly I find completely unacceptable, especially again, considering this is a single player game with no online services and no multiplayer. I literally couldn't pirate it if I tried. Honestly though, the timing of this could not be better, because I talked about how I've been like giving in and just buying more digital games, and I rightly got flamed in the comments for it. And I was like, yeah, why am I buying digital games? It brought me back to college when I would save up all the money that I made from changing the paper in the computer lab and going to GameStop with the last little bit of gas in my tank and buying a new PS4 game. It was really like the icing on the cake at the end of the week, and then popping it into my PS4, installing it and playing it. I just did that with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'll talk about it again later. And I did get that same warm and fuzzy feeling that I had back in college when I went to Target yesterday. I picked up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I came home, I put it in my PS5, waited for disc 1 to install, and it just felt weirdly cool to have to take out disc 1 and put in disc 2 to actually play the game. I was like, man, this is awesome. I really hope physical games don't go away, because as this issue and many others present, these companies aren't ready to support a fully digital console. I mean, Xbox, maybe. I don't really care about that ecosystem if I'm being honest, but as far as PlayStation goes, they really should make sure that any console they sell going forward has a disc drive, because if you run into experiences like this, it honestly just kills the vibe of wanting to sit down and play some games after a long day of work, right? Like, I don't want to have to troubleshoot my internet to be able to play a single player game that I bought for $70. And I don't think many other people out there, if any, really would feel the opposite. But that brings us to our second news story here, which is another thing that I think needs to be addressed, and that is the price on some of these new games that are coming out. So all this controversy is surrounding Star Wars Outlaws, and on the surface, it's not really that hard to figure out why this game is controversial. It's from Ubisoft, who I don't think I'm going to make anyone mad by saying has completely fallen off over the past few years. Like, they were on a roll going up to like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then it just completely dropped off, and they have not had a hit game in a very long time, despite releasing quite a few games. Like, in the past year alone, we got the Crew Motorfest, we got Assassin's Creed Mirage, we got Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, and I don't think any of those games hit to the level that Ubisoft wanted them to, outside of maybe, and that's a hard maybe, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which was being advertised as like this return to form for the series, but really just ended up being a DLC for Valhalla that they extended out and kind of fluffed up. And, you know, from everyone I've talked to, including my friend Jake Baldino, it just doesn't sound like a very good game. But if you guys didn't know, I'm like a massive Star Wars fan. I have been my entire life. And even I got to be honest and say, I've just completely gotten to the point where I need to be shown something really good to actually get my fandom reignited. I was all in on the Book of Boba Fett. It was disappointing. The Mandalorian Season 3 did some cool stuff with the lore, except I didn't like that they replaced the character. I thought Jedi Survivor was cool, but the whole release strategy with that game, where like they released it like 60% done and took over a year to actually get it running correctly on the PS5, that really soured me, because it's one of the biggest IP in the world. And from the first trailer of Star Wars Outlaws, something just didn't look right to me. I love seeing stuff like Jabba the Hutt. I love that it's like an outlaw game where you're like a scoundrel and everything like that. I don't like that you can't make your own character in an open world RPG, and I know there's a huge controversy around how the main character looks, and like I've definitely noticed the trend, right, that everyone's complaining about. I don't know if it's just like coincidence that all of this is lining up, but if for every game like that where the main character is quote unquote ugly that they force you to play as, there are plenty of other games that aren't like that, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like Tifa and Aerith are hot as I'm just gonna be honest. And there's just something weird about the voice acting in Outlaws that makes it not really feel like Star Wars to me. Like the main character, the dialogue, the way she speaks, it just feels like they took someone from real life and put them in a video game, and it's just not really selling that Star Wars vibe. But something about that game just isn't really working for me, and obviously I'd love to be wrong. I'll give it a shot when it comes out. But the two other controversies with this game that seem to be the tip of the iceberg are that you need an internet connection to install it despite buying a disc for the game, which in my opinion is absolutely ridiculous. And then the other controversy is that the price of the game is absolutely insane. So just getting the base model of the game is $70. I really don't have a problem with that. Like, yeah, it sucks that they raised the price of games by $10 and they haven't kept up with the quality to match up with that new price, and that's really because they were playing catch up with pricing games effectively to make their budgets back, but that's not my problem. But there's two other editions of the game, and if you want everything that the game has to offer, you're going to be paying $130. Not double the price of a last gen game, not quite double the price of a current gen game, but you're going to be paying somewhere in between at $130. You get 2 cosmetic packs, and like, yeah, I don't really care that they're charging for that on the one hand, but on the other hand, we used to be able to earn this stuff in games, and I wish we could get back to that. Selling skins is just stupid for a single player game. And of course, the tried and true, if you buy the Ultimate Edition, you get to play the game 3 days early. And yeah, there are some benefits there, like getting the season pass with no discount is weird, and then also you get to play the game 3 days early, which I guess is cool, but like that should really just be the actual launch date of the game. If it's ready to come out 3 days earlier than they're like giving as the actual release date, it should be releasing for everyone who is buying the game for $70. Like, I just don't like this atmosphere that's been created where because I don't pay double the price of a full price game, I'm punished effectively, and I have to wait 3 days longer to actually get started in this game that once again is not free and costs $70. And pre-selling a season pass, I know that that's like a classic practice. I still feel a little bit weird about that because we don't know what these DLCs are going to be. We don't know how big they're going to be. They're saying that like the value is going to be there and you just have to take them at their word for it, but like they haven't really had the best track record lately with even making a quality product at launch, so I definitely don't trust them to have a quality DLC offering whenever those expansions come out. And I've seen people saying, well, you can't really criticize them for needing an internet connection to install the game because like everyone does it, so why are you mad at Ubisoft? It's like, I'm mad at Ubisoft and I'm mad at everyone else because that practice is just genuinely stupid. Like, if I'm buying a physical disc, the entire game should just be on the disc. But yeah, I'm a little fired up here. I think it's for the right reasons though, so hopefully you understand. I want to round out this video with something positive though, which is my new physical game pickups. So yesterday I was at Target. I decided to check out the video game section to pick up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because of that digital issue I've been having on the PlayStation 5, and I am really happy with the quality of this physical release. I know it's like a disc in a case, but you open it up. Oh shit, fell out. I know it's just like a disc in a case, but you open it up and you're immediately greeted with 2 discs, which is awesome. I think that's a really cool practice. They have cool art on them. Like, you've got Cloud jumping with the Buster Sword, which is actually the back art of the game, which I think is pretty cool. I have the first disc upstairs on my PS5 because I was installing it after I installed it down here on my Slim. I love this tagline, Defy Destiny Together. I think that's really cool. And something that's awesome about Square Enix games is you actually get reversible cover art that matches up with other art in the series, which I think is sweet. And then something else that kind of surprised me is you get little inserts, which is a thing of the past these days. This is just an advertisement to pre-order like collectibles in the original soundtrack for the game, which I am going to buy because the soundtrack is so good. But I just like getting little pieces of paper in there that advertise upcoming games and upcoming products because it brings me back to when I was a kid and you would actually get like a full-on manual for the game, and I would take those to elementary school and read them for like Halo 2 back in the day. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then Target was running a promotion where if you spent $80, you got a $15 gift card back. So I decided to look through the pitiful PS5 section, and I saw that Final Fantasy 16 is down to $45 there. I have this game digitally, but again, because of the issue I've been having where I get booted off games while I'm playing them if they're digital, I figured I'd grab a game that I really want to go back to physically. And once again, great quality product from Square Enix. It's not on 2 discs. I don't think it really has to be, but it does also have the reversible cover art. I, again, like the cover art that comes with the actual disc that you get from the store. Classic Final Fantasy style art, so I think I'm going to leave it like that. And I think it's cool cool that like Square Enix puts taglines on the back of the games, like fate is written in fire. That's just like a very 90s sort of thing to me, or early 2000s. So I just think that's a cool detail. And then this one also has inserts, so you get a little ad for Final Fantasy 14, which I just downloaded. I said it earlier in the video, I'm excited to try that out. They're advertising the Heaven Sword expansion, and then of course you get the other little insert for Square Enix's warranty, which is cool. It's cool to get little paper inserts in the games. And then finally, I wanted to round out the collection with Final Fantasy VII Remake. My only gripe is that this is only available physically on PS4, so it has to sit with the other two on my shelf with a PS4 box. But cool thing is, this is a 2-disc game once again, so we get the first disc, we get the second disc. It's classic. It looks like the PS1 disc from back in the day. The cover art is a full remake of the PS1 disc, which I think is awesome. And just like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you get the reversible cover, which is black with the Final Fantasy VII Remake logo. I also got an insert here. I got some member reward points for Square Enix members, which whatever. Another advertisements just for some figures from the game, which I'm going to go back and buy because I'm so in love with this universe. And once again, you get a cool tagline on the back. It says the legend returns for all generations. I was able to get that one used on eBay for 15 bucks, which I think is a fair price despite the fact that it's on PS Plus Extra, and I'm excited to put those right next to The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 on my shelf in my favorite games section. So yeah, those are my physical pickups for the week. Let me know what you grabbed down in the comments below, and also let me know if you want me to continue with this physical pickup series. Anyway guys, that's all I've got for you today. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.